What is going on, y'all? Welcome to 8 Cubes. We're going to start with a conversation about the card coming out on Tuesday. That is Clea, a 1-2 that in play or in hand, whenever it receives a permanent power buff, i.e., Gwenpool, Nakia, Marvel Boy, whatever that is, it will give you a Flames of the Faltine, which is a 1-cost card, a spell that gives -3 to a card at the location that it's played. I think Clea is a card where I'm actually excited that they're exploring this design space, but she seems a little bit low on the power level, which is probably a good thing because I think this card is a lot closer to actually being good than a lot of other people do, in large part because if this card is in your hand and you're just getting free bonuses from buffing your hand, that seems like a legitimately straight up powerful thing to do. Getting cards for doing nothing. They're good cards. It's like just Merlin spells without having to play Merlin. But downside, there's not enough cards that guarantee a buff that goes on to her, right? When you look at something like Gwenpool or Galacta, the dominant buff cards, they are pretty big targets. You're only getting a couple of buffs into your hand with a Galacta. You're getting one buff with a Gwenpool. You're not going for volume, you're going for size. And so I think that is largely what holds this card back, is the complementary pieces around it. Gwenpool, Galacta, Surge. Surge doesn't work with it at all because that's in deck. And Gwenpool and Galacta, I mean, you get one, but you'd really want something that's like the Gwenpool version of a Nakia before this actually starts making sense, I think.
Yeah, so the thing about this card is it's very simple for me to talk about this card because I think it's just gonna be a mid card in mid-range decks. You definitely can play it because, like you said, right, the premium buffers are Gwenpool and Galacta. The chance that you get to pull both Gwenpool and Galacta on this is quite rare. That usually involves a Zabu or a 7th turn, because you gotta play this on the board, or like you gotta buff it before turn 6 because that's how you get to use the spells anyway, right? So if you go like Zabu into the Galacta, and then you can buff the Gwenpool, Galacta, or whatever, and then you get 2 spells. I guess 2 spells is like the max you can really get from this one. So that's like a 1-2 with -3. -3 is like a 1-8 of sorts, 3-8 in a sense. It's okay. It's all very mid-rangey stats at the end of the day. Like her max power output is like your average good mid-range card in mid-range decks. Just that this one has a bit of additional steps. Also, Gwenpool doesn't guarantee the buff on this, on her. So this card probably would be fine if Merlin didn't exist, but it just feels like Merlin with extra steps. And then you play Merlin in every mid-range like core right now. So my take on this card is that like it's nice to have a release of this kind of card, but don't think she will be super impactful.
I think the thing that is the best argument for this card is that there just is space in decks for 1-drops that aren't terrible. Like, people, myself included, I'm playing Electra, right? Like, it's just, you can just play a 1-drop if it's not terrible in one of these shells. There's really not a lot of competition for the role that this card has, which is sort of like a mid-range enabled 1-drop. There are plenty of things you can do that may arguably be better, but I don't necessarily think that she is a bad card. It's just that what she's asking from you to like really invest in her, you're never going to get like a high investment game plan out of this card. It's always going to be like, oh, I incidentally got a couple of cool things. Because once you start looking at the cards you have to run to like hyper invest in her, then you start realizing that like if I hyper invest in this, I'm not getting enough payoff for it to actually be good. So it just ends up being like a card you run to like min roll sometimes. Like sometimes you'll get a couple spells off of her, and that'll be a nice thing to have in the game, but it's not going to be like a game changer for you unless they make a card that's like here's like what they made like Gwenpool into 4/6 Nakia. That would go a long way for something like this, right? Like that kind of thing where it's like a guaranteed hit on your whole hand so you know you're getting something out of this, as opposed to just big hits but there's less guarantee of actually hitting the things that care about them. This has the Sebastian Shaw syndrome, basically.
Yeah, I mean the main issue I guess this card has is that to get the actual payoff of like the additional stats you gain from her ability, you actually spend mana on them, right? It's not exactly a 1-2 -3 -3. So it's like a 3 mana, and then like you have to set this up as well. So she's not exactly like free power or free stats. You need to actually spend energy to use her spells.
Yeah. And that's actually part of why it's like you look at like the Marvel Boy stuff, you do zoo things, right? But what are you doing in zoo? On 4 and 5, you're playing Khazar Blue Marvel, right? When are you playing the spells? You doing that on 6 when you're playing Gilgamesh Mockingbird? When are the spells actually happening? You're doing 1-drops into Marvel Boy, Khazar, Blue Marvel. You're never actually going to get time to play the spells, and you don't really want to play the spells on 6 in your zoo deck because you want to fill the board out because you're a Blue Marvel Khazar deck, right? So I just don't really see a space for this card in the current metagame outside of like, I am playing whatever Galacta deck already. I've taken the Electra deck and I've simply replaced Clea in it because what Clea is doing there is not only being a 1-cost on her own, but generating other 1-costs some of the time to make my Sasquatch cheaper. Sure, totally plausible there. I 100% buy that I will be putting Clea in that deck. No arguments there whatsoever. It makes perfect sense to me. If I'm doing Mysterio on 5 after Gwenpool on 4, love to play Clea in there. She's honestly probably going to be pretty damn good in that shell because that shell is already pretty damn good in my humble opinion. Like, I think there's going to be decks where you're like, wow, Clea's actually good here. And that's one of those decks. It might be the only deck for all I know, but it is going to exist. You're going to be able to play Clea at the highest level because she just sort of naturally fits into what that deck is already trying to do. But I just don't think that's really fair to call that a Clea deck. She's going to be an important piece of it, but it's not like, oh god, Clea's doing all the work here, you know? Let's talk a little bit about Dormammu, who I feel like has been a little surprisingly good. Like, I thought this card would be pretty medium to bad. Like, just the kind of thing where it's like not really gonna be all there. But it's been a lot more playable than I honestly would have expected it to be.
I mean, this card. So I randomly just decided to say last video that it's gonna be on average a 720, right? From what I've seen, actually, it's like on average more than that. So
Pretty big.
it's actually a definite like 1-card lane winner, which is the good part. But I think that at the end of the day, the problem that's not solved is that this is a 1-card lane winner, which you need to invest time into building, which is not that difficult. It didn't end up being as difficult as I thought, to invest in this 1-card lane winner. But then there's the other lane, right? You need to win the other lane also. And then obviously, if you're investing specific amount of time and resources to build this like 1-card lane winner, you probably aren't investing a lot of resources in winning the other lane. So like, I mean, like if you can do some really cute like Zola stuff or something sometimes. But other than that, this card needs more support, you know, like I feel like it needs more support to be a good Dormammu deck. Now there's like Dormammu combos and Dormammu win a location suite, but like a Dormammu deck probably isn't tier 1 yet because that definitely needs a bit more support.
I think one of the things that really strikes me about it, and I've been sort of workshopping this theory for months now, and really years subconsciously, is like, when you define a combo deck in Marvel Snap, combo doesn't necessarily mean what it does in other games. It's just a deck that doesn't have interaction. It's a fully proactive deck, right? A deck that is saying, I beat you on points and nothing else. And I create those points in various ways, but the point is that I just have points. I feel like Dormammu is still in the phase where everyone's building it as a combo deck, but if someone figures out how to make just a Dormammu deck that gets to play Mobius and Shang-Chi, I feel like suddenly that deck is legit. Like, if you can actually be doing Dormammu stuff with, like, Bucky and the Hood and Mobius and Shang-Chi, I suddenly feel like it's a real deck. I haven't gotten there yet. I haven't found the perfect configuration, but I feel like I'm moving closer and closer to, like, oh, okay, you can be a Dormammu deck, but also, like, a competent mid-range interactive deck that doesn't just, like, absolutely get clapped by everything that's playing combo, but bigger, right? And I think that if that is a possibility for the archetype, that is the thing that gives me hope. Like, I bought the 2,400 gold Dormammu in the shop because I have this hope that the archetype may figure itself out in some way. And I think that, like, it's not necessarily going to do that, but I am interested enough in trying to make it happen because I think the card is cool. And I honestly do think the card is powerful if we can get out of this one-track mindset about it.
I know how to buff this Dormammu in a very simple and perfect way. You just make the final spell cost 2. Because what pairs with 2 is a 4. So you just play the Dormammu spell, spawn the guy, and shank the other guy. That's the simplest way to make this card way better. And I think that's gonna be super relevant. But other than that, okay, I think the point I'm trying to say is that the Dormammu, like I like to call it, like you said, you call it an archetype. I also kind of want to call it an archetype because this really allows you to do like 3+ something right now. In the future, if they really buff it, it's like 2+ something. Like it lets you do big guy plus remove a thing. Like the energy allocation on turn 6 is so perfect to do that. It's just that it's kind of difficult to build up to that right now. But I do see hope for Dormammu style decks in the future.
Galacta ate a nerf, and Lamby has some takes.
Yeah, so I mean, so it is enough. It is enough for sure. It's 4/6 +2 right now instead of 4/5 +3 +3 +3. So it's definitely it's down 2 points on average. But at the end of the day, it's still insane, right? Because you get to allocate the buff stuff into whatever location you want. Obviously, we all know how Galacta works. So obvious nerf, but I think it's not a nerf whereby you don't play the card forever. It's just a nerf whereby everything all the mid-range soup stuff just loses a bit of stuff, but a bit of points, but it's still good enough to play for sure. So I mean, the thing about Galacta to me is that now we are looking more closely at Galacta versus Gwenpool, right? Because they're both 4/6s, and then they technically add the same amount of stats depending on what you buff as well. I think in certain decks you definitely think Galacta is still better. Then obviously in certain decks like Mysterio stuff or Sarah related stuff, Gwenpool is the obvious supreme. So to me it's more like you don't necessarily run both in the same deck right now, but Galacta and Gwenpool, they both have like deck shells that they excel a bit more in. So I will definitely not count Galacta out as a card because I can very easily see myself just still playing her in the same decks that I used to play her in.
I think that the thing that strikes me the most about this nerf is just how little it impacted the mid-range good stuff pile. First of all, like they're all still fine. And the second thing that really struck me about it is there is an archetype of cards that has consistently been elite in Marvel Snap, and it is cards that are effectively 10 plus power, but are not Shang-Chiable. And both Galacta and Gwenpool are this, right? Like these cards are just a guaranteed, you play them on 4, you're gonna get more than 10 power out of it, and that power is not gonna be Shang-Chiable. Just straight up, that's what they are, right? And I think that specific archetype of cards points at like a lack of interaction for this sort of diffuse style of power distribution. Where is the second Shadow King? Where is the Shadow King that has like Luke Cage text, like your opponent's cards in this lane can't get buffed, right? It doesn't necessarily speak to that these cards are objectively powerful. These cards are contextually powerful. They're the best threats that are good against the answers available in the format. And I think that is sort of a telling statement, right? Like, yeah, Shadow King exists, but we don't have, like, that's not nearly as playable as Shang-Chi. And so these threats end up being not necessarily like more diverse than their answers, but more numerous than their answers, right? And so you have these metagames that are defined by these mid-range piles where it's like the best combination of interaction-free points and tech is just that's the deck consistently. Which is what I wanted to talk about in this section, right? Like, I feel like I don't really exactly have a data-based basis for this, but I feel like some amount of the fatigue in Marvel Snap comes from the consistent way in which points plus tech, or in some cases, like the current metagame, tech plus points becomes the dominant mode of playing the game competitively as opposed to proactive game plan building. Because like I'm a person who enjoys these mid-range tech piles. I like interacting with my opponents. I think Marvel Snap is a better game when both players care about the turns before turn 5, right? But I don't think Sarah decks particularly care about the turns before turn 5. Like, they're doing the exact same thing as a combo deck, just in terms of removing your opponent's stuff on turn 6 and making everything that happened previously not matter. I think that's just as bad for the game as, say, a Hela, right? And I don't think it gets the credit as that as much as it should, where it's like, oh, okay, you know, all this thing I put all my time into, it gets completely invalidated by a card on 6. That feels terrible. That's a terrible feeling for people to have. And I think that is, like, when you go back, like, I think decks like that are good right now. I think Thanos was a deck like that previously. It's why I was so down on Tech Thanos, but so high on Ongoing Thanos, because Ongoing Thanos is doing a proactive game plan that's trying to win on points. And I kind of just want to get your take on, like, what actually makes Marvel Snap good and what level of invalidation of the game on turn 6 is okay.
So the thing is, I think this is a blessing and a curse for Marvel Snap, which is so the thing about Marvel Snap is that, okay, so let's just first get this out of the way. I feel like points plus tech will never go away. Like, it's just the basis of how this game is being played. Like points plus tech will always be a relevant form of how you play this game, like, especially even if like a dominant combo that comes up, then the tech becomes more important, right? But then now it's a mid-range soup meta, so the points becomes more important, and then you fit the tech that can be fit into this deck for the decks that you play against that are not the mid-range piles. So this like tech plus mid-range thing will just stay in tech plus points thing will just stay in this game like eternally. But what I mean by blessing and a curse is also, the thing is, Marvel Snap releases cards so often. They have like an infinite amount of like Marvel characters to release, right? So we kind of get new cards every week, or like multiple cards every month. And there's only so much innovation you can have with these cards, like the number of like available Marvel characters to be put into this game is definitely more than the amount of like creative card game interactions that have been around for like the last 30 years. I feel like how many variations of ramp, how many variations of buff, how many variations of whatever can you have, like, compared to the amount of Marvel characters in the game? I think there's way more Marvel characters in the game than that. So I just want to get out of the way and say that, like, for sure, we will definitely see repetitions of similar things for the next few years in Marvel Snap, simply because, like, there's just we are getting so many new cards, but there's only so many different ways to play a certain style for now, anyway. But then back to the point about the whole invalidation on turn 6 thing. I feel like we're actually in a good spot right now, though. Like, I think like every kind of invalidation on turn 6 right now, it's not something you cannot play around. Like, it's coming. It's coming. And the thing about Marvel Snap is that you can always run away. It's like, to me, it's manageable simply because I know that I can always leave. I mean, like, at the end of the day, if you know that you can always leave in Marvel Snap, so in theory, it's supposed to always be manageable because you don't have to win every game. But I think, at least for now, and for like even in the past, like Alioth, that kind of thing, the pre-nerf Alioth, whatever, you kind of just know it's always coming. So to me, at least for now, with Marvel Snap's like meta, or like how it's been for a long time, the fact that I can always kind of know that this is gonna happen to me, which is why Emperor Hulkling, for example, shout out Emperor Hulkling, is kind of difficult to beat, and it's kind of a cool card that should probably be played in more decks. Emperor Hulkling is a cool thing that wins games because you can't exactly plan around it. But other than that, everything else feels very like, I know it's coming, I can't beat it, I retreat. So I think I'm fine with that.
I think you touched on something that I think is pretty insightful there, which is the idea that we keep releasing all of these new cards, right? Like, this game keeps coming out with all these new cards, and they lose to the same old cards. Like, your Dormammu is losing to Shang-Chi in the same way that, like, every other big card you bought is losing to Shang-Chi, right? And so I think largely what this fatigue speaks to is that the answers are always the same, where the questions that people want to ask are different and cool, and where a lot of the innovation in this game could be if the answers weren't always the same 4 cards, right? Like, that's
Shang-Chi needs to be play this card on 4, get like the rings, and then once you like play the rings, then you blow up the card. Like, honestly, I think that changes things. Yeah.
Yes, if you make him not be able to be a surprise, right?
Yeah.
Like, it is the kind of thing where it's like that goes a long way, but also I think people are just sort of sick of the idea where it's like, okay, time to go test out my new awesome big guy. Oh, wait, it loses to the same guy my last awesome big... Like, oh, look, I got Nightmare and Dormammu. Guess who's beating both of those decks, right? And it's been the same guy this whole time. My point, this leads me to OTA theory. This recent OTA, with the nerfs to, like, mid-range pile decks, Red Guardian, Galacta, was one of the most well-received OTAs in the history of Marvel Snap. People loved it. So here's my theory and my pitch. You ready for this? Zabu, Gwenpool, Surge, Enchantress, Shang-Chi. Take a point off of all of them. People will love it. That's my theory. Is it good balance? I don't know. But I do think that you could just do that, and people would be like, damn, they cooked. Like, that is what... Like, I think it would be an interesting direction for them to go. Other cards they could throw in there. Killmonger. That guy could take a point of power off him. Cosmo.
And you would still play him, yes.
Yeah. Like, how many of these cards would I play at a point of power less was basically the question I asked myself when, like, pitching this list. And the answer was, like, probably all of them. So I guess might as well do it, right? Like, take a point of power off the Hood's Demon. Is it a balance problem? I don't know, but it definitely sits on top of all of the other ones. Like, it feels like for a game with a live balance schedule, they just don't seem willing enough to just take swings at stuff. Like, they'll take swings at, like, buffing bad cards, but they won't, like, take swings at, like, what if we just did this? Like, what if we, it's such a, like, oh, of course this is a bad idea, right? Like, but it's like, well, okay, it's a bad idea. You can fix it in 2 weeks. It's probably fine, right? Like, I don't know. I guess the risk is, like, if you weaken all the answers, you just, like, have a whole metagame of people playing Living Tribunal that sucks or whatever. But I just don't think that would happen realistically with the power level these cards are at. Like, they're already so strong. I don't think taking a point off of them is going to be like, oh, I've opened the floodgates, right? And it's not even just like the tech cards. It's the points package, right? Galacta, Gwenpool, Surge, Zabu. That stuff specifically is like, you could be way harsher on that than they have been. They could Doom 2099 that package, and they have not done it. And it's like, I kind of think if they just did that, everyone would love it.
Yeah, so I don't have much to add on that one, on this, because I actually kind of agree. But I just want to like highlight one interesting and like I think pretty correct point as well, which is at the end of the day, Marvel Snap is all about like points. You win on points. There's like no real alternate win condition. So it's just like more points equals better equals win, right? So I always believe that, like, because I played many different card games, and like this recipe does work. By the way, like you take points or point off the cards that have to still be played in the deck. Like, you get what I'm trying to say? Like, if you take a point off Zabu in your 4-cost everything, that you still play a 1/1 Zabu. You know, you take a point off Enchantress in a ongoing meta, you still play Enchantress. You take like 10 points off of Shang-Chi. Okay, no, that's too much. You take like 2 points off of Shang-Chi, you probably still play Shang-Chi if everyone's playing 10-cost like stuff, because it just wins.
If you take a point off the Hood, you're still playing it in every Misery deck. Like, every single one. You take a point off the Demon, you're still playing the Hood in every Misery deck. You're still playing the Hood in every Viper deck. You're still playing the Hood in every Annihilus deck. It always is going in there, and it might even open up space for decks that aren't that to not splice the Hood Misery stuff in if you stop incentivizing it so heavily. Maybe other 1-drops get played.
Yeah, I mean, the one thing I wanted to bring up was, I cannot remember exactly which meta this was, but there was a meta whereby they nerfed Psylocke to 2/1, and no one stopped playing her because she was the best possible.
It was Thanos. It was the Thanos Profex deck.
Yeah, like it was so important to be able to ramp to 4 or 5 that even if they dropped the power on a card and made it so understated, you still had to play it. So I feel like nerfs that involve popular cards where people have no choice but to still play the card will hit hard, and I guess will definitely change the scape, like the total like amount of points you have in the deck, obviously. But like, if you price people in to still play that said card, even though it's strictly nerfed, I guess that should affect quite a bit.
Here's my other part of the OTA theory, is that Marvel Snap is better when decks have identities. Mid-range soup is not an identity. Surge good cards is not an identity. Destroy is an identity. Even Sarah Tech is arguably an identity. Like, that is a deck with a defined strategy.
High Evolutionary, for example, as well.
Yes, those decks have identities. And I think that if you give people something to attach themselves to, that will make them happier with the game. And I think, like, having these mid-range soup cards be the meta gives people a sense of, like, not displacement, but, like, lack of identity. Where... my theory is basically nerf everything until destroy is good again. that's what it boils down to.
Point, though. Because like, okay, this is very funny already, because I feel like the identity thing is something so important to talk about, because look at the names of prominent players in the game. We have Hela Enjoyer, Shuri Enjoyer. We have like people
Yes.
that attach themselves to, and like, okay, let's just think of like other games like Dota 2, League of Legends. People are like, I'm this character main, I'm that character main. In Marvel Snap, you're like, I'm a mid-range main. Like, bro, that's not cool. Like, I'm a mid-range main, by the way. No,
Yeah.
I wanna be a surfer main. I wanna be a Hela main. I wanna be a Shuri enjoyer. I wanna be like it's like you said, the identity thing is cool. Like obviously, if you go too hard on it, people just like have decks that build themselves. You know, like, I think that the worry is also that like everything is like pre-built, and people don't have the room for innovation. But I think there's room to explore there for sure.
Speaking of
Okay,
pre-built
go.
decks, Fantasticar, the card on the premium season pass, we think. Data mines have been kind of vague on this recently, but it was data mined on the premium season pass recently. This is a 4/7 that gives +2 power with an activate ability to all of your end of turn cards. The reason I'm bringing attention to this is I feel like it's a really terrible time for them to do premium season pass and a season like this. And I'm not
Yep.
necessarily someone who's opposed to the idea of premium season pass having a card on it. I find it a lot less offensive than something like Kid Omega, just on baseline price grounds where like one of them is a good deal, one of them is a bad deal. I find it a lot more offensive to offer people a bad deal than it is to offer people a decent deal, relatively speaking. Although I understand definitely people who will disagree with that. I do think that it is a uniquely terrible season to put a card like this on the premium season pass, though, because this is the first season we've had where it really looks like all of the cards are meant to go together. They are all sort of like end of turn cards, except Invisible Woman, who buffs those effects. They are cards that, like, some of them have bonuses when lanes get full. I think Human Torch and Thing are both cards that have bonuses when lanes get full. It's like very clearly these are cards that were designed in a similar context to each other. Like, these are cards where it's like, okay, we want you to be able to play the Fantastic Four deck, right? And on the subject of identity, I think that's great. I think it is an
Yes.
identity win. We talked about how like that stuff is good. But there is unfortunately an interaction with the economy here where it's like, if you don't get, say, Mr. Fantastic or you miss Human Torch, is your The Thing purchase going to be worse, right? How does that impact that? And so to have a card like Fantasticar that interacts with all of them beyond the premium season pass, I think that's a fine Series 4 to have in any context other than the premium season pass. Like, basically every single context other than that. Like, you put it in a game mode, I'm fine with it. I mean, you don't Kid Omega it because you shouldn't do that ever. But like, you do
Yeah.
what you did with Astral Projection, perfectly fine. I've got no issues there. But when you put that behind the premium season pass, I think you open up a possibility of like, what if you have to buy the premium season pass to play the Fantastic Four deck? That's like a really bad scenario for a lot of people, and even maybe for Second Dinner, because I think it's very easy to look at that and be like, they did it on purpose. Now, in order to play your Fantastic Four deck, you have to give them $20 more. And it's like, or you just don't buy any of the Fantastic Four cards because you're not doing this, and then they miss out on all of those purchases, right? So it's like, I don't even know if it's like a positive thing for them to do it like this. It feels like a very risky decision to me.
Yeah, it's a super omega. I did it on purpose. Super omega risky decision, by the way. Like honestly, I looked at the cards. I looked at this 4/7 monolith of card. You have to. You will end up having to buy the premium season pass to play them. I like from a pro card gamer perspective who's done card games for a long time. I look at the interactions of this deck. Yes, they're supposed to work together. There's no way you play this deck without the card, man.
You
It's
think
so
it's that good?
So
It's a
yeah,
four
there's no.
cost to
It's
activate.
a
There's never been a good one of those before.
No, but like it's a 4/7 minimum that never gonna just be a 4/7. I think there's no way you play this deck without this card. So like
God.
just put it out there. You gotta buy the premium. This is the upcoming season for you to have a new identity. You gotta have a premium season pass to have a new identity. It's like paying for a fake passport in those movies or something, man. Like in order for you to have a new identity, you need to pay. And I think this is gonna be the case. I mean, I'm gonna pay because I probably will want to play this, but like So yeah, don't at me, but like, I think you are
Boy.
pretty sure. I'm pretty sure that, yeah, you have to buy because like I mean like look at this and then look at the next card. Will you not want to play the two cards together?
Yep. No, I get it. It's just like, oh man, because like
Yeah.
I feel like that effectively does that not like kind of soft paywall the whole season?
It is. It is.
Like you have Human Torch and the Thing who scale with power and get buffed by
Yeah.
this. And it's like, okay, so what? I'm supposed to spend 6,000 tokens on something that isn't going to be meta playable until I have a card I can't get until next month? Like, I guess that's not the, like, again, like, is that the end of the world, right? You can't get it till next month. I mean, Invisible Woman is like, kind of the glue card here, and I'm pretty sure she's the last one to come out, right? Like she's the one that says double your end of turns.
Yeah.
And so it's like maybe the deck just doesn't exist until the end of the month anyway. Like maybe you're not actually waiting that long.
Possibly.
Where it's like it doesn't exist until the end of the month anyway, and then you know the month ends and you can get this card for 3,000 tokens, and who actually cares, right? It's entirely possible it ends up that way because all of that is happening. But like what Fantasticar does is really throw into a pretty strong relief just how weird this season is. Like, will this deck be good before the end of the month? Or do you need that critical mass? And if it's good only at the end of the month, then I guess we don't care that Fantasticar is on the premium season pass because we'll just get it in the packs anyway, right? I guess it just doesn't really matter if it's only good Invisible Woman. You just wait 6 days and who gives a shit, right? But
yeah.
It's weird, right?
I mean, yeah, actually, I think that point you made is super relevant, and I did overlook that a bit, right? Because I did say I looked at all the cards, and then I realized that the card is relevant. So, like, if all the cards have to be around for the card to be super relevant, I guess maybe I was a bit wrong. It's not exactly strictly a paywall. It's a pay later or something. Or,
yeah, it's
or,
weird.
You know,
like it's just like if you need all of the cards in order for this deck to make sense,
maybe it's not that bad. Yeah.
Then you don't actually need to get Fantasticar at the beginning of the season, right? Like you can just wait and get it afterwards once it goes into the packs. I don't know. Like there's just such a wide range of possible outcomes. Like what if this deck just sucks? Like what if it's just not good, right? Like what
I think
if
it's gonna
just...
be good, man. I think it's gonna be ongoing.
Happens?
Like
I don't know, man.
This deck has such ongoing Thanos vibes without having to play 6 extra cards in your deck. Like, if you just look at all the cards, it's such serious ongoing Thanos decks, and it's a true identity, by the way. Like, it's fantastic 4 cards, and they all work together. I kind of like this, by the way. Like, they should do more of this. Like, when they did the first time they did something like this was like high evolutionary, to be honest. It made me feel like these cards just work together. I feel like as much as it does limit a little bit of deck building space, it's like you said, like we said, identity is cool in games.
I think it'd be cool if all these cards work together. I just really hope they don't work together until like the end of the season, right? I hope people don't have to buy this card and it is actually okay to just like wait 6 days for it to enter packs or whatever the hell happens, right? Like that's sort of my hope is that like the deck isn't good until like Invisible Woman. And then when Invisible Woman comes out, there's like 2 days where people are figuring it out with Fantasticar. And then Fantasticar leaves the premium season pass and enters like Series 4 packs or whatever. I think it's Series 4. And then everyone gets it for 2,500 and nobody gets to be sad about it anymore. That would be the optimal outcome for me, I think, is that like maybe it being on the premium season pass in the season this stuff releases as opposed to like in the season, like next season, for example, when it would like already all be there. Maybe that's like secretly good as opposed to bad. I don't know. It's definitely like a dynamic I hadn't considered.
Yeah, you know what will be the problem with that, which is if this really because this is obviously coming out at the start of the month, so like if this somehow just goes into one of our soup decks, right? And then if this becomes a soup card, then that's GG.
Yeah,
right?
like if this card comes out and we're playing like this and Hydra Bob Makari Sandman. It's over it's over, dude. Like that's so bad. The actual like the one of the things I've been really thinking about a lot is like where am I supposed to draw this like ethical line? Because it's like, you know, what's actually the difference between Kid Omega and the season pass? I don't know. So the other paywalled card here, Mr. Fantastic, First Steps, a 2/2 that like Fastos affects your hand effectively. It takes a card, it gives it either -1 or +2. I gotta tell you, I have a hot take about Mr. Fantastic First Steps. I think this card is noticeably worse than Surge.
Yeah.
Like,
No, you know why it's like it's noticeably worse than Surge is because you don't get guaranteed of either. You know, like you said,
yes,
Fasto's the card, right? You don't get guaranteed
yes.
of either, so there's no way you plan. And like, I feel like Marvel Snap, there's only 6 turns. You kind of need to plan.
It's also like with Surge, you are guaranteed the -1 cost. And you are guaranteed that it, like, I know this sounds stupid, but that it's happening to the card on top of your deck. This is something that doesn't change. When you play a game like this, you're game planning based on known information. And the known information you have is not changing with a Surge. Top of your deck is going to cost 1 less, have 1 more power. You know that, right? With this card, you can be game planning and game planning and game planning. Suddenly a buff happens or a -1 happens and your game plan is completely different and you have to adjust on the fly. So I think it's not only harder to play, I think it's like a worse card full stop, which means that it might not be the terror people are afraid of it being. I think Surge is going to do a lot of what this card does. The real question is...
People actually think that this is a terror, this thing.
Yeah. People are really high on this
Really?
card. Like, people are really high on this card. I think it's a lot of it is just, it's a 2 cost in the season pass. Like, there's a little bit of just, like, sort of learned
Trauma
habits
from
here.
Iron Patriots and Sam Wilson and what's the other one? Merlin.
And, yeah, it's like, it's not an unreal, like, it's not a pattern. I just think this guy is going to be merely decent rather than absurd. I think he is going to be like quite good, and there's going to be a lot of good surprise value in him. And he could do really cool stuff with like Surfer, and he goes with the Thing, and he goes with Human Torch, and there's a bunch of cool stuff this guy does. But ultimately, I think he himself is just pretty solid and a little bit worse than Surge. If Surge is an 8 out of 10, he is a 7.
He's a 6, but yeah, we can assume I can honestly agree with you that this is definitely not gonna hit as hard as Surge. Like on theory, on paper, it looks amazing, looks good, a little bit scary. But when you put it into practice, right? I'm pretty sure this card is like, it's definitely not gonna feel Surge like. It's gonna feel like less than that.
Last up, last time we talked about the future. Since last time, have actually spun up the Hearthstone channel. I do not plan on moving away from Marvel Snap. I'm just treating this like I treated Pokemon Pocket. You're going to be able to see some extra KM content on the Hearthstone channel. There will be a link in the description. And thank you so much for checking that out if you feel like doing so. There's going to be a lot of cool stuff from the theory crafting stream. So shout out to Hearthstone, Blizzard, Ridiculous Hat for inviting me to that theory crafting stream. I'm excited to see where this can go. Just wanted to let y'all know, though, for everyone who was worried about that, I'm not leaving Marvel Snap. I'm not effing leaving the scene. Like, this is my Wolf of Wall Street. I'm not leaving. Like, this, relax, okay? I am literally just doing what happened when Pokemon Pocket came out. That's all. Lamby, you're dipping your toes into a pool I personally would not plan to enter. You're playing a little Shadowverse, right?
Yeah, man. Dude, everyone has been asking me to try this game. Like my IRL friends, my other game friends, my Marvel Snap friends, they all tell me to try this game out, and I think I will definitely try this game out. Like, yeah, I always want to play new TCGs, new card games, you know. And like, firstly, I'm not leaving Marvel Snap. Like, you guys saw how hard I went when Golden Gauntlet 1 and 2 came out. Like, I literally did nothing but Marvel Snap when Golden Gauntlet 1 and 2 was around. So yeah, as long as there's anything like mildly competitive in Marvel Snap, I will still be here. So that's my guarantee to you. But yeah, no, just wanted to also talk, since this is the future topic, you know, like. So I just want to say that like I'll be dabbling a bit into Shadowverse, and if you guys do play that, let me know what you think in the comments. And if you want me to use your code, I will not, because there's about 20 people that have already asked me to use their code to get free stuff. I mean, it's a Shadowverse inside.
Is it like the sign up thing where like everyone is just giving each other, and they're getting like 5 packs out of it or whatever?
I have friends messaging me from like they don't talk to me for months, and they're like, "Yo, you play card games, right? Use my code." And I'm like, "Wait, the other guy also said use my code." So yeah, it's
the free stuff, dude.
Yeah.
All right, y'all. Thanks so much for watching. I've been KMBest. He's been Lamby Series. We'll see you in the next one. He's gonna take us out right now.
All right, like, comment, and subscribe if you enjoyed this episode as much as we did. See you next time. Bye bye.